The great Indian mathematician, Srinivasa Ramanujan, the man who deciphered God's thoughts, the enigma of genius. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. I want to ask you a question. Where does genius come from? Is it the product of rigorous training, countless hours in a classroom, and access to the world's finest libraries? Or can it be something else? A flash of lightning, a divine whisper. Today, we explore the life of a man who personifies this very enigma, a man who, without formal training, dreamed of numbers and saw patterns in the universe that were invisible to everyone else. A man from the temple town of Kumbakonam who would go on to rewrite mathematics. We are here to talk about Srinivasa Ramanujan, the spark in Kumbakonam. Ramanujan's story does not begin in the hallowed halls of a great university. It begins in a small, modest home in southern India at the end of the 19th century. As a boy, he was largely self-taught. While other students memorized history and literature, Ramanujan's mind was captivated by a single book on trigonometry, which he mastered by the age of 12. He saw mathematics not as a dry, academic subject, but as a divine language. He often said, "An equation for me has no meaning, unless it represents a thought of God." For him, the source of his incredible insights was his family deity, the goddess Namagiri Thar. He claimed she would present complex formulae to him in his dreams. This singular focus, however, came at a cost. He failed his college exams because he could not bring himself to study any other subject. To the world, he was a failure. But in private, he was filling notebooks with theorems and ideas that would one day stun the world. The letter that changed everything. Working as a lowly clerk in Madras, Ramanujan was isolated from the mathematical community. Desperate for validation, he began writing letters to prominent mathematicians in England. Most dismissed his work. It was too strange, too unconventional, without the formal proofs they expected. But then, one letter landed on the desk of the eminent G.H. Hardy at Cambridge University. In this letter were pages of theorems, unlike anything Hardy had ever seen. There were formulae for infinite series, for partitions of numbers, for things he could barely comprehend. Hardy's initial reaction was skepticism, but as he and his colleague J.E. Littlewood studied the pages, their skepticism turned to awe. Hardy would later famously say of Ramanujan's theorems, "They must be true, because, if they were not true, no one would have the imagination to invent them." That single letter was a bridge across oceans, cultures, and worlds. It was the cry of a genius in the wilderness, finally being heard, a glimpse into his mind. So what was this mathematics that so captivated Hardy? It was a deep, intuitive understanding of numbers. Let me share a famous anecdote. When Ramanujan was ill in a London hospital, G.H. Hardy visited him. To make conversation, Hardy mentioned that he had arrived in a taxi with a rather dull number, 1729. Ramanujan's eyes lit up. "No, Hardy," he said, "it is a very interesting number. It is the smallest number expressible as the sum of two cubes in two different ways." And he was right. Imagine that. A mind so intimately familiar with numbers that a seemingly random four-digit number was an old, interesting friend. He wasn't using a calculator. This information was just there, present in his mind. His work on the partition function, P, N, and his discovery of the Mach theta functions are further proof of a mind that operated on a different plane. Conclusion: the blazing comet. Ramanujan's time in Cambridge was incredibly productive, but tragically, the cold English climate and his strict vegetarian diet took a toll on his health. He returned to India and passed away at the tender age of 32. He was like a comet that blazed across the night sky, brilliant, dazzling, and gone too soon. But his light did not go out. He left behind his notebooks, treasure chests of mathematical wonders that mathematicians are still working to understand over a century later. His work has found applications in fields he never could have imagined, from computer science to string theory, and the study of black holes. Srinivasa Ramanujan's life teaches us that genius knows no boundaries, not of geography, not of poverty, and not of formal education. He reminds us that the greatest discoveries can be found in the most unexpected of minds, and that the universe is filled with a mathematical music, waiting for those with the soul to hear it. Thank you.